Good evening, good night, wherever you are. Maybe it's a good afternoon. I want to extend you a warm welcome to Getting High Performing Teams Back on Track, the incredible secret few managers know. And I'm your host, Lynette Potter. If you would, if you can hear me, go ahead in the chat. If you see the chat maybe on the right or the left, just depending on your screen, just go ahead and put a yes or a no. Can you hear me? And the chat is somewhat delayed. That's what I've experienced today, but I would appreciate a little interaction right here at first to get me started. Okay, I'm not seeing any chat. Yes, DB says yes. Excellent. So let's get started, shall we? First, get comfortable in your chair right now. Look around and let's shut down all the distractions. After all, you've made it this far. Let's go ahead and make it all the way. Turn those cell phones off. Close the web browsers. Other web browsers actually slow down a broadcasting, streaming live. And close your door if you have one. Get on a headset. Just kind of look around your environment and see what you can do to really disconnect from those distractions. Maybe take off that email. And I want you to just sit here, enjoy, and be with me through this hour. Next, pull out your workbook. A workbook is a great way to focus on the information, take notes, and I'm sure you went ahead and printed it out. If you didn't, just get out a pen and paper right now and take some notes. Writing is a good way to remember information. So answer me this. Do you stay educated in the latest success tools? And you can go ahead and answer in the chat if you would like. And then what about this? Did the last training produce the results or the profits you were expecting? Just think about that for a second. And then if they didn't, if not, have you asked yourself why? I'm pretty sure you have. Well, I'm going to let you know your time is going to be very well spent right here with me today. If currently you're a manager, if you manage people or plan to manage a high-performing sales team, or maybe you're actually a part of a high-performing sales team, and you're looking for consistency throughout the year, month after month, week after week, or maybe you've got that consistency, but you want to get to the next level. Well, you know you're in the right spot if perhaps you're finally ready for that quantum leap, that in your vision, you have a perfectly functioning team capable of reaching their true potential. A team that feels responsible for their own goals, which we all know is the ultimate catalyst for propelling them forward and keeping them engaged. And last but not least, your time's going to be well spent with me here tonight if you want to easily manage every team member in a way that creates that loyalty, that loyal customer base that we're all looking for, our companies, our departments, with higher profits, all encompassing that harmonious team. But like me, maybe you're super skeptical sometimes about these trainings because, after all, we have that ultimate fear of the wasting of our time and resources. And if you're like me, maybe you felt that training doesn't always work. And maybe if you're like me, you chase the next big thing. Yeah. And then you're going to tell me, besides, Lynette, you know, I coach my team for activities, motivation, and accountability. And isn't that enough? Well, I used to think that way too. But I found something really different. And the reason I found something different is I was obsessed at finding the answer. I really did all of the trainings and I chased that next big thing and I coached my people. I even got coaching myself, but there always seemed to be something missing. I've always been a member of a high performing team or managed them. In my 30-year career, this is just a couple of snapshots I found in the last few years I was in corporate America. I have searched high and low, and I've been on this mission to find that missing ingredient. I'm sure that missing ingredient that you feel that could be missing with you as well. Well, as a high performer looking for answers, we look for them maybe in our environment to make sure that we're in the proper environment. We look to better processes and system. I searched for those. We look for an answer in better equipment, a better program, more IT. We even look at our teams and our managers and think, well, only if. I know we've all had good managers, bad managers. I've had both kinds. And sometimes we even get those conversations, get that loop over and over that it's about our manager, right? This is just a side note, but I don't know if you know Michael Hyatt, but Michael Hyatt is a great mentorship for leadership. And he is written many blogs, and I even went onto his website, which I copied here, and put the word boss in, and it came up 309 times. And I want you to note that the top 3 or 4 bad bosses is what is in the lead line. So don't blame it on your boss. We have ways of learning great lessons from bad bosses, just as well as getting mentored by some really good ones. So I was really obsessed. I was obsessed with building a better mousetrap. And when you find and when you look for the answers for 30 years, you're going to find it. And when I found the answer, it was so profound. I was so shocked, and it was so simple. I actually left my 30-year career to come and passionately bring this information to you. That's how much it changed my life. So stick with me here, and what you're going to learn is why those latest strategic tools probably won't work to elevate you or your team to a higher level or a consistent level, unless, of course, you know the secret. And what stops coaching and accountability from truly working over the long term? And we're also going to learn the big reason traditional training is not the answer. And of course, last but not least, I'm going to reveal the secret most managers don't know that will instantly get their teams back on track. So let me tell you a little bit about Becky. Becky and I worked together, and when she came to me, she was a bank, well, she had actually transitioned out of being a bank president. The company she worked for transitioned her out of that position. So Becky moved close to where I was, and I got to know her really well. And before Becky knew this secret, she was really affected by the fact that she was transitioned out of her president position. And once she knew the answer to a better understanding and an awareness of what had happened to her, Becky really excelled. So Becky's not only a banker now, she's a speaker, and she's a specialist in multiple sources of income. And we'll talk about Becky a little bit later on. Next, I want to show you a little bit about my client, Julie. Julie came to me thinking that she wanted to transition from being a stay-at-home mom after 20 years to back into the workforce. And actually, as I said, when we're really looking for that answer, we'll find it. What she found was she really didn't want to go back to the workforce. What she wanted is to really run her family and be the CEO and the CFO of her family. And then she decided that she wanted to become the spouse extraordinaire. And last but not least, she became a really high performing mom in her own right. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? Let's just get right to it. The secret that only a few managers knows is paradigm awareness. Paradigm awareness. Yeah, is it like that for you? What the heck? It's paradigm awareness. So let's look first at the definition of awareness. Awareness is the knowledge that something exists, okay? Pretty simple. And paradigm is an example or a pattern. So paradigm awareness is an example or a pattern that something actually exists. Sounds pretty easy, right? But let's look a little bit further. I don't know if you know Joel Barker, but he is a absolute great resource. You'll find him on by just Googling his name. He spent the last 20 years really going deep with corporations on their paradigm, and this is what he has to say about paradigms. It's in your workbook. To ignore the power of paradigms to influence your judgment is to put yourself at a significant risk when exploring the future. To be able to shape your future, you have to be ready and able to change your paradigm. Yeah, I really want you to think about that. So understanding how paradigms are created is really an essential part of understanding awareness first. As we know, we talked about awareness is knowledge that something exists. Knowledge is thought. And what is thought? Thought is in the mind. But what's the mind? So the mind is something that we really can't see. So I want to really dive into that. So take out your workbook, and I want you to write out, right beside the word apple, a description. When I say apple, what do you see in your mind's eye? What does an apple look like to you? Maybe it's a computer product. Maybe it's a shiny red thing. Go ahead and describe an apple. Now go to your front door and just briefly write out a description of your front door. Is it a double door? Is it a single door? Does it have glass on it? Does it need painting? Go ahead and write out that description. Next, do your refrigerator. What color's your refrigerator? Is it a side-by-side? Or maybe the freezer's on the top, the refrigerator on the bottom? Or is it to have French doors? Do you like your refrigerator? Write a description of it. If you open your refrigerator and you drink milk, I bet you could tell me exactly where that milk is, can't you? You see, the point of the exercise is we think in images. Our mind thinks in images, and it's very important to understand that, because without the proper image in our mind, we're simply just not on the same page. We're confused. That's a little tidbit to help you in your cells. So in order to understand the mind, we have to have a clear picture of it, but nobody's ever seen the mind. Don't confuse your mind with your brain. They're not the same thing. So let me give you a description or a image of what the mind looks like. Ta-da! There we go. It's a stick man. You may think that that's a really silly little idea of stick man to be able to describe the mind, but let me tell you about it, and after you understand it, I bet you won't think it's that silly. So the top part is really exaggerated because I want to let you know that the top part, while it is your mind, it's really not your brain. But your mind controls everything that your body does, and your brain is part of your body. And by the way, this stick figure was actually first created by Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1934. He was the doctor in the healing arts. And he understood without the proper image of the mind, we are very confused. So let's look at the mind. Now, it may show two equal halves, but the mind doesn't really work this way. It's just for the simplicity of this explanation. So the top part of the mind is called the conscious mind. It's called many other things, but we'll get into that in a second. The bottom part is your subconscious mind, and both parts control the body. The top part, the conscious mind, we also call the thinking mind. It's where our intellect is. The bottom part we call our emotional mind. Some people call it our unconscious mind, all sorts of names. Your conscious mind, your intellect, it's where you choose your thoughts. And your emotional mind, your thoughts actually cause the feelings. And those feelings are expressed as actions through your body. Your actions produce the results that you get. So let's go a little bit further and talk about what it's like for our mind when we're first born. Now, when we come and make our debut on planet Earth, we really don't have a line between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. As a matter of fact, our conscious mind is not even fully formed yet. It's just now starting. After all, we don't even know how to walk, talk. We even have to be taught how to breathe upon our first drop out of the chute. And what happens is through our five senses, we start learning the world as little bitty babies. You know, everything that our parents teach us go directly into our subconscious mind. We don't have to think about walking once we learn how to walk. We don't have to think about talking once we learn how to talk. So everything that we learn through our five senses, through the TV, our grandparents, our family, schools, when we go to school, our friends, at school, if we go to church, everything that we experience through our five senses goes into our subconscious mind. And actually, our conscious mind doesn't really start to be fully formed until about ages 6 to 10. Scientists aren't sure, and probably more than likely, it depends on each individual. So that's why we are individuals, because everything that has gone into our subconscious mind is who we are. So what's important here is that we learn the world through our five senses. And then in school, we're not taught to learn the world any differently once our conscious mind has been formed. So let's go back to this little guy again, and I'll show you some more of what I mean. So now that we're adults, okay, we understand our conscious and our subconscious mind, our thinking mind. So everything that our five senses tells us, we experience through conscious thinking. But the point of the five senses is it comes from our outside world. Our thinking mind is able to choose. And really what we can choose is, do we want to experience the world from a place where everybody's telling us what to do, telling us how to feel, how to act? Because that's how we learn ourselves when we're little kids, but we're not taught anything else. But I'm here to tell you there are 6 higher faculties of the mind, and you can see and write some of these in your workbook. The 6 higher faculties are your will, your perception, your memory, reasoning, imagination, and intuition. Yes, intuition is a higher faculty of the mind, and we all have it. It's just not for moms, let me tell you. So when you understand how the higher faculties of the mind work, you're no longer allowing the outside world to tell you how to think. You're actually using your inner world to experience your outer world. So let's look at our feeling mind, shall we? And what is unique about our subconscious mind is that there's no choice in the matter. Our subconscious mind is not where we make our choices. It's the automatic part. It's also where our paradigms reside. Our paradigms are made up of all the beliefs, which we learn from a little bitty baby, all of our habits, which we learn from a young age as well into adulthood. It's our values. It's our self-image. And remember, we're not choosing that's what our paradigm is about. It is down deep right there, and it's why training doesn't always work, because we haven't gone down deep where the paradigm actually resides. It's why coaching for activities and accountability doesn't always work. It's why it's just a short-term effect, because we haven't really changed the paradigm. If we don't change the paradigm, nothing else will change. The only way to change the paradigm, what's in that subconscious mind, is through repetition or an emotional impact. And emotional impacts at best don't really change paradigms for the better either. And what I'm talking about is something like 911 or being at war, being actually on the front lines. So repetition, doing things over and over and over again, is the only way. And scientists now know that repetition does not just take 21 days. It depends on the habit. Different habits for different people take as many days as it takes. So again, what happens is we have consciousness, and then we have feelings where our habits happen. And that's really what expresses through our bodies with the results that we get. And I'll show you what I mean. So let's look at results. This is what we constantly look at. We look at our results, and our results bring up thoughts. Our thoughts cause feelings, and our feelings cause actions. And it's sometimes a vicious circle. So I'll go deeper. If you're a manager or you're a high producer and you get that one negative report that you didn't make goal, what happens? So the thought is, oh my gosh, I didn't make my goal this month. And how do you feel? As a manager, you're really disappointed, and you're that way as a producer too. And then that disappointment happens about, we start going and talking about the report, right? Oh my gosh, people, we've got to get our numbers up, right? How many times have you had those kind of talks? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's not really the best way to empower your team or really get them back on track. So I want to go back to Becky for a minute and really point to this fact. When I met Becky, when she was transitioning from her president's position to her new career in a new city, in a new environment, she was experiencing the same thing. She kept on looking at that transition as a negative thing, and it really jolted her self-confidence. And the more she tried to do better in the new city and her new job with her new environment, it just wasn't working for her. She got stuck. But luckily, Becky was a high achiever. She is a high achiever. And she knew to get help. So this is what it looked like. To get off that wheel, you got to create a new thought. You don't look at the results. You got to look at a new thought. Start with that first. And what is the thought that brings that really good feeling? It's like, we can do better, can't we? And how are we going to do better? I'll get to that in a second. But when we have the new thought that brings the new feeling, we've got a different action, which absolutely gets us a different result. It's all about awareness. So if you're aware that when you keep on looking at the results that you don't want, then you can get off that wheel and start getting on this one. Because how that works is the new thought is your purpose. Talk about purpose. Because when you have that core purpose, you feel really good about it, don't you? And when you feel really good about your purpose, what happens? You get inspired action. And when you are in that inspired action, you get a new result. It's all about the awareness. Well, Becky understood this concept well. And she absolutely re-engineered her whole thinking. And now she has doubled her income. Yep, that's right. She transitioned out of a job and welcomed and said hello to her new life where she's making twice as much as she did. It's great. So what Becky learned is you don't talk to the paradigm. If you're in a management position, the worst thing you can do is talk about the negative result. That's what I mean about talking to the paradigm. The less you talk about the results and the more you talk about purpose, the quicker you're going to get your team back on track. I love what Albert Ian Gray said in a speech called The Common Denominator of Success. You might want to write that down. When a person goes into a slump, it simply means that they have reached a point at which, for the time being, the things they don't like to do have become more important than their reasons for doing them. So that's why we don't talk to the paradigm. You have to go find those reasons, those good feelings. So what do you think about that? Doesn't that make a lot of sense? And I bet without noticing or understanding, having the full awareness, you've done this with your team before and you got a good result. You got them back on track. But you might not have known the exact formula. So if you're here today because you're afraid that you think you've tried it all, but are holding out on that hope, that little hope that maybe you've missed something. That's what I've always thought. I just have been missing something. And maybe you're here because there's just too much to do and you know you need someone to tell you how to do it. And you got to know now before something else gets in the way. Or maybe you know that your team is capable of more, you feel that, and you feel that it's time, that time is actually running out. You feel that way? And you should be happy to just have your current results. It's like settling. Well, I've got some incredible news for you. You have missed something. To make true lasting change, like we talked about, you must take it down deep into the subconscious mind where true change occurs. We're taught to change the symptoms or the behavior. That's really what we're always taught. That's about coaching. Coach the symptoms or the behavior, but that's temporary at best. But I'm telling you, it's not too late to learn this. Time and resources a lot of times stand in our way of great achievement if you let them. But just remember, it's never too late to make a decision. And if you really want to reach that next level, you're going to find the time. You're not going to be afraid to push those time and resources out of your conscious mind and just go and do it. So I can tell you exactly how. Supercharging you and your team's productivity. As you've already learned, the subconscious mind, it's a totally deductive part of yourself. And it's the key on how great athletes really break all records. Everything I've shared with you is based on more than 50 years of intensive research and practical experience put into a specific system, step by step, called thinking into results. You see, we're always thinking into results. This program, Thinking Results, it's a powerful learning system created to master the mind, to look at the subconscious mind and gain personal abundance and professional success. It's a digital program that you can do on your computer or on your laptop or your iPhone, your iPad. And it's the brainchild of Sandy Gallagher, who's a former mergers and acquisition attorney. Sandy Gallagher and Bob Proctor have formed the company called the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Bob Proctor is a legend in personal and professional development, and he's been studying the mind and how it works for the last 54 years. And he, coupled with Sandy Gallagher, came up with this Thinking into Results program. And I'm going to tell you a lot more about Sandy. Sandy is now the president of the CEO and the co-founder of the Proctor Gallagher Institute, but she wasn't always. She spent 20 years in banking, mergers, and acquisitions as an attorney. So back in 2006, Sandy attended one of Bob's seminars. Bob didn't even know who Sandy was at the time. And right then and there, she decided that she wanted to work with Bob's company and be one of his closest advisors. And Sandy was an attorney who is so brilliant. She graduated in the tops of her class and actually had several scholarships awarding her for her brilliance in as an attorney in mergers and acquisitions. And what she did as a student, being a brilliant student, she no doubt immersed herself in all of Bob's information. She took all of the courses that he offered and actually transcribed everything. And again, Bob didn't even know that this was going on. So she set her goal and decided right then and there to work with it. And so she took his information and took the step-by-step process and put it down on paper and actually created the Thinking into Results program and presented it to him. And once he saw how brilliant it was, what happened? They formed the company, the Proctor Gallagher Institute. So what Sandy created was the Thinking into Results with 12 modules inside. That's what it took to get her thinking from a mergers and acquisition to attorney to the personal development and professional development industry. And since she knows, and Bob knows, that repetition is the key, she structured it so each module can be studied for no less than 2 weeks. Each module contains one video, one reading lesson, and an equivalent of a writing lesson. So each lesson has video, reading, and writing to go with each module. So here's what you'll create through the Thinking into Results program. You're going to learn about commitment. Commitment to your own goal, kind of like Sandy did. She was committed, unlike you've never known commitment before. You're going to learn about an attitude that is in full alignment with your goal, no matter the circumstances around you. You know, life happens, and sometimes our attitudes can affect what we see around us. And by understanding that really it's your paradigm that controls your attitude, you can learn to have a wonderful attitude no matter what. And then a strong personal image is no longer in a way that you compare others to yourself to others. And what I mean by that is when you have a really strong personal image, you're no longer letting the outside control who you are. You're not comparing others to you. You know your gifts. You know your strengths. And a simple way to instantly supercharge your productivity is another thing we're going to create. I know I've talked about that a lot. and finally a deep understanding of what change really is. And when change comes your way, and it's coming rapidly in this environment, how to respond to it in a really calm manner that totally eliminates stress from change. But there's a secret sauce in e-learning, I'm telling you. There is an absolute insurance policy. I don't know about you, but sometimes in e-learning, I've signed up for programs and I just didn't complete it. But I totally get the insurance policy needed for your success in digital learning these days. And it's rarely found in programs out there. That insurance policy is me. Accountability is your insurance policy, and I'm one of your accountability partners. We're going to coach on one each week. We're going to laser coach with you. On the week that I'm not doing a laser coaching session with you, I'm going to coach with a group of you for an hour and 15 minutes. And plus, having that group accountability as well as my accountability, when you show up for group sessions that you've committed to, I'm telling you, there's something special in that secret sauce. So how we're going to do this coaching in a group setting is through a virtual meeting. We're actually going to share our webcam with each other. We're going to look at me plus all of your partners with this group. It's a great learning environment when you do it this way. People really love that type of learning environment. You don't have to leave your office or whatever, your life, to drive in traffic. Now, what you're going to receive in the Thinking the Results program, again, it's 12 modules of videos as well as MP3s that you can download to your iPad or your iPhone. So not only can you watch them every day, you can also listen to them if you so desire. So it's e-learning at its finest. There's that 200-page workbook that's downloadable. That workbook is really the backbone, the spine of this whole entire program. And then in each module, there are worksheets. So there's 12 modules, which make 12 printable worksheets. And you can actually do the worksheets over and over again because you can print them off. Then you're going to receive that important insurance policy of accountability with me and your student peers. And on the weeks that we are not doing our group coaching, you're going to get a one-on-one laser coaching session with me to discuss exactly where you are in the program, if something's stopping you, or maybe there's something that you'd like to really focus on, that's something happening in your life that stopped you. So inside this 200-page worksheet, I know the screen is a little bit tiny to see, but you're going to get the reading. You're going to get some extra bonuses at the end of each session. There's some very powerful articles and information. And then again, I said the worksheets. And I know I love my Kindle reader or my pad that I read off of, but when I'm really studying a book, I want that hard copy. So I'm going to give you a bonus, and you're going to get the workbook as a hard copy as well. So are you up for doing this? Are you? So you might say, yeah, Lynette, I'm up for doing it, but what's the investment? There's got to be some time and money. Absolutely there is. You're not a high achiever for nothing. You're a high performer, and you manage the high because you recognize the value of your time and of your investment of time and money. So let's talk about the time investment first. Let's talk about the 24 weeks period. So remember I said that there's 12 modules and you stay on one module for 2 weeks. So that's a 24-week time period. You listen and watch daily the videos twice a day, actually, once in the morning, once in the evening. And The length of the longest video or MP3 is 20 minutes or 25 minutes. There is one that is 25, and then the shortest I believe is 15. So the average is like 20 minutes. So that's 40 minutes a day. Great driving time to listen to it. And then daily you want to read and write in your workbook every day. And maybe you don't have the habit yet of reading and writing daily, so just start with 10 minutes. And I have a lot of people that work their way from 10 minutes to 20. Sometimes people write as long as and read as long as an hour every day. That part's totally up to you. The more you put in it, the more you're going to get out of it. And of course, attending the 75-minute virtual meeting every 2 weeks. And on the weeks that we're not having a meeting, you will get that laser coaching if you so desire. So that's your time investment. So what about the money investment? Well, it's a single pay of $34.95. And you might think, but wait a minute, a lot of coaches let you pay that out. But I'm telling you, this is your investment of your energy. It's kind of like, when your kids take you to you to take them to Disney World, did they let you pay out? No. For 1 week, you probably shelled out 2 and 3 times as much as this to take your family to Disney World. And that was only for a week. This is true change. Change at its finest, which is down deep, the paradigm. So I got it. This isn't for everyone, so you're going to have to really look at yourself. Are you the person that wants to make this permanent change? Because after all, I admit it, change isn't easy in the beginning, and it's certainly messy in the middle. But at the very end, man, is it wonderful. It's incredible. And you didn't get where you are right now without some work. We all have some work that we've had to do in the past to get where we are. But you decide. I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. So how do you get with me? Here's what we're going to do. You can go right now to connectwithlynette.com. That's www.connect, C-O-N-N-E-T, with W-I-T-H, Lynette, L-Y-N-E-T-T-E.com. And what Connect with Lynette is going to do is you're going to get my electronic calendar. First, you're going to get a pop-up of which you're going to put your name and your email. And then the next pop-up you'll get is an actual form that walks you through the calendar event. You can have your calendar right there with you, and you can look at my calendar. And I want you to be looking at next week. I'm going to set aside these appointments for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday afternoons. So go ahead and look. I believe that's the 27th, 28th, and 29th. And then the following week, which I believe is February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So those are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And as you just keep on clicking next on that form, you'll see what I mean. But I want to tell you about an early decision bonus. Great leaders make decisions quickly and change them infrequently, if at all. And if you go ahead and connect with me right now on this masterclass, I'm going to reward you for that by deducting $500 from this masterclass to $29.95. So go ahead and go to connectwithlynette.com and start your process. And what we're going to do in connecting with me is actually do an interview. We're going to set up an interview and really go deep into finding out who you are. You can interview me and I can interview you. And let's see if this is right for you. Is this the right time? Is this the time that you need to really take your productivity to the next level? But I want to tell you something about a guarantee, because frankly, you probably don't know a lot about me, and that's okay. That's why I want to connect with you. And If you do the work on this program, I believe in it so much that I'm going to give you a 100% satisfaction guarantee, no questions asked refund. And when I say no questions asked, what I am going to ask you to do is to show me that you did the work. You showed up to the virtual meetings, you got laser coaching, you filled out the worksheets each and every 2 weeks, and you turned them in. So as long as you do the work, I know that this program works for everyone. That's how confident I am of it. So let's look again and go over what you get. 12 modules of videos and MP3s you can use on your computer, your iPad, your iPhone, any pad, any Android system. It's e-learning at its finest. You get the electronic 20-page workbook and the hard copy bonus workbook. You get 12 printable worksheets in addition to the workbook. Just the program without anything else is $11.95 retail. And then you add on top of it, you get accountability coaching with me and your peers, 60 to 75 minutes every 2 weeks, plus your laser coaching session, which is 30 minutes every other week that we're not meeting in our group. That is a package of $34.95, totaling value of $46.90. So what's the last step? Well, connecting with Lynette is your last step. And as long as you connect with me while on this webinar, you're going to get that last decision bonus. I mean, that early decision bonus. So right now, I want to be able to answer any questions that you might have. And we're going to spend this next 15 minutes and give you the opportunity to go to connectwithlynette.com and go ahead and get scheduled. By scheduling your interview with me, you're going to lock down that special early decision bonus. After the 15 minutes is gone, now it's 14, you're no longer going to have that special bonus. That's my bonus to you for saying thank you for staying through to the end. And it's also my bonus for saying, hey, you did it. You jumped out there, made that decision, and what a great decision it is. So now I want to open it up right now and ask me any questions that you might have in mind, or make any comments to the Thinking into Results program and what you've learned today. In the meantime, if you don't have any questions, or while I'm waiting for those to come in, go ahead and do connectwithlynette.com. By connecting with Lynette, you're going to see a pop-up screen of which you're going to put your name and your email address. And then that pop-up screen is going to take you to the actually form. And what are those days and times, somebody asked? The days and times that I'm going to leave this open for the next 2 weeks, which is next week and the week after. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of the things about Connect with Lynette, that electronic calendar, is we're going to be in different time zones, but that electronic calendar knows it. So I'm going to tell you the times. I'm in Central Time, but you might be in a different time. And that's what's so fabulous with this electronic calendar. It's going to put you in touch with your time zone that matches mine, and you don't have to do that whole time zone thing. So the days are next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think it's the 27th, 28th, and 29th, and I'll double check that with my calendar in just a second. And then the week after, which is the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th. So next Tuesday, it's the 26th, 27th, and the 28th. I apologize. 26th, 27th, 28th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the following Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, February 2 3, and 4. Those are the 2 weeks that you can do Connect with Lynette right now to get the early bonus. Otherwise, you're going to go ahead and schedule an interview with me anytime during those 2 weeks to talk about the Thinking into Results program and see if it's for you. If you're not ready to commit tonight, I got it. I understand. But go ahead, and if you do want the early decision bonus, do the Connect with Lynette and schedule your meeting. That's what secures that bonus. Otherwise, you can connect with me over the next week and the week after for those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday days. It's going to be the same time of the day. And you can connect with me, and we'll do an interview, and let's go in deeper into some questions you might have and see if it's a good fit or not. I hope that answers your questions. If you have more, please go ahead and chat them in the chat box. Now, after you're in the Connect with Lynette and you are now in the calendar part, it's going to step you through, I believe there's about 4 screens, and you're going to put your name, your email address. There is a spot to put your text, your cell phone number, so you can be text a reminder. This calendar is so smart. It's going to even ask you, hey, we're going to send you a reminder email. Do you want that email 30 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe an hour before the scheduled time? But anyway, if you put a text number in there, you can also get a text to schedule the time as well, a reminder, a text reminder. And that text reminder does depend on your carrier. So you have to know which carrier you're using. And I want to tell you, sometimes we don't always know. So if you do want to put in your text number, you'll see the next drop-down box of your carrier. And frankly, I looked at the AT&Ts, and I didn't really know which AT&T I would pick, and I used to have them. And I have Verizon personally, and I didn't scroll all the way down to the Verizon. But if you don't want to do the whole texting thing, that's okay. Just ignore that if you don't know what carrier it is. And Cindy Hurd said thank you, and I really appreciate that, Cindy, and you have a great night. Now, back to the form. So the form is also going to ask you, you get to pick how far in advance you want to be notified by email or text. I talked to you about the whole text thing of our interview together. So go ahead and put in, it's up to you. You get to create those absolutes that you want to help you remind you of their interview. Now, I know, of course, life happens, and on the off chance that you have to reschedule, go ahead and go to Connect with Lynette and go through that process of just simply, you probably won't even need to repopulate your name and email address, and let me know, and you can change times if you want. Or if you'll notice, my phone number is in all of these emails. It is also in your Connect with Lynette, as well as, please note right now my email address on the screen. Go ahead and take that down in your workbook, which is Lynette@shiftingresults.com. Lynette@shiftingresults.com. And should you need to reschedule, go ahead and do so by going back to Connect with Lynette or phoning, leaving me a voicemail, text, or email. I have lots of ways you can get hold of me. So we're now down to about 7 more minutes, and I still am very willing to take questions from you, any kind that you have. And if not, I'll still talk to you here because I want to give you that opportunity to do the early decision bonus. And after all, it's my gift for you, to you, for staying with me to the countdown here. So Connect with Lynette. Let's talk about that some more. of putting in your email address and your phone number. You can also go ahead and give me a lot more information on those screens if you want. It's really like a database for contacts. So you can look at it like that. You can give me as little or as much information. The little information I need is merely your name first and your last name and a good email. Oh, speaking of email address, those of you that do have the Google email address, if you can't find any of the email reminders, if you have your Google email set up where you have a promotions tab, you probably need to go jig around in that. I know I've found a lot of my friends don't even know they have a promotions tab. But unless you tell Google, Gmail, that Shifting Results is a website, or a shiftingresults.com is approved, and get me on your approved list so I no longer go into that promotional tab, then you will find these emails in your promotional tab. One little tidbit about Google. And I honor your inbox. I really do. I understand we want to keep our inboxes as clean as possible, and I've got that. No problems here. So there's 5 more minutes left on that early promotion and that early decision bonus. And go ahead and just go to www.connectwithlynette.com. connectwithlynette.com. Yes, and don't forget about that guarantee. Now, that guarantee is not only with the early decision, it's with my program in general. If you do the work, that program is absolutely going to do exactly what you want it to do. All you have to do with those ingredients is add the effort and the work. Doing those worksheets, I just want to talk a little bit about that workbook. You know, it's one thing to listen. You're going to love listening to the MP3s and what Bob and Sandy talk about. But the other thing that you're going to find so valuable is that workbook. It's chock filled with information, and you can read it over and over again. If you ever read a really good book, a learning book that you read over and over again, that's what this workbook is going to be like for you. And then the worksheets, the in-depth questions that only you can answer, is going to be a very much invaluable tool to get to the next level that you're wanting to get to. So that workbook, you can actually use it as a companion for the year after, and the year after it's going to give back each and every time. And at the end of every module is a great article and something else to really ponder and think about. You will find that workbook invaluable. And I'm not going to tell you, we have some really great fun on our group coaching sessions. Oh my gosh, we get to laughing sometimes. You're going to enjoy that because you're going to bring your own value of what you have to offer as well as your peers. You're going to be challenged to see things maybe from a different way. Use that perception, that higher faculty of the mind of seeing things, seeing them clearly, or just merely seeing it from another point of view. You know, all great athletes and great leaders can use their higher faculty of the mind perception to see things in a different way. It's a great way to live your life. And it's not from people telling you what to do. It's actually going within and say, how can I see it from another's point of view? And what about that higher faculty of imagination? When you really use those worksheets the way they're meant to be used, you're going to find your imagination is really engaged through creative imagination. You know, creativity is one of the most wonderful gifts that we've really been given by our higher power. I love to use my creative ability. I hope that you actually see it in this masterclass and felt it as I enjoyed walking you through this process and this information. So we're just have a few more minutes left until that early decision bonus goes away. And again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart in joining with me today, this great information that Sandy Gallagher and Bob Proctor has put together, and I have embraced and understand how to really utilize this and teach you how to use the information. When I got my certification a little over a year ago, I was so proud because the process to get your certification to teach this material is a year-long process. And I really immersed myself in the information, and I'm a completely different person myself. And I'll share with those stories with you, and we'll talk about that on the interview when I get to connect with you. So go ahead, go to Connect with Lynette, and the whole purpose there is to set up through my electronic calendar an interview next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or the following week, next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So my calendar is open for interviews for the next 2 weeks, and I really look forward to getting to know you better. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone, and I know that you'll have the best evening ever. And it is my great joy and happiness that you are here with me today. I'm going to sign off and say good night.